Guys, do you know that you can run 10 air coolers for the power consumption of one AC? Yes, that's how power efficient these things are. So in this summer, shall we directly skip the air conditioning and buy a nice cute little air cooler for you? Most importantly, is that cooler useful for your application, and if you want to buy a air cooler, which particular model to buy? Guys, worry not, because in this particular video we are going to discuss 5 important points that you need to keep in mind while buying the best air cooler for your application. And yes, there's a bonus thrown in, so make sure you watch this complete video without skipping. Let's start with the first point, that is types of cooler. Now coolers can be categorized based on their application. For example, if you have a small room, say a bedroom or a neat little office, then you can buy a personal air cooler which is suitable for small areas. If your area is pretty large, say if you have a hall or drawing room, then you can go for a desert cooler. And there's one new kid on the block which is known as tower air cooler. Now these babies are absolutely perfect for people who are living in flats or those who are living in very compact houses, because the footprint of these tower air coolers is very small. So it is a very nice space saving design. Plus you get the window type air cooler which can be installed on or outside the window. Apart from the body type, you can also classify them based on their construction. So you have the old school metal build, heavy duty, thick metal air coolers which are, a little bit noisy, they are a little bit heavy, but their cooling is very good. The only downside that I find with metal coolers is that they need a little bit of upkeep. There can be a little bit of rust coming up, it might need a bit of oiling and all of that. So in that case, if you have the space available, if you want to put it outside the window, by all means go with a metal build air cooler. But if you want to place it somewhere near you, somewhere inside the room, then I will prefer that you go with the cooler which is built with a plastic body, because plastic body cooler not only looks nice, but it also comes with a plethora of features. Yes, we are going to talk about those features in this video. Plus the noise level of plastic air cooler is pretty less compared to the metal ones. All right, and if you want to compare variety of coolers, like, oh, these are the particular small ones, these are the large ones, then I have a Google Doc file readily available for you. You can find that file in the description or in the first comment. That file is known as cooler cheat sheet. So if you are comparing a lot of models and if you want to select a nice one for you, make sure to go and check out that file, because I hope it will make the selection pretty easy for you. Next point here is power consumption. Yes, the power consumption of an evaporative cooler starts somewhere around 70 and goes up to 200 watts. In the same range, if you are running an air conditioner, the power consumption goes as high as 1200 and up to 2000 watts. So as we can guess that running a cooler is much power efficient, so that you can expect less electricity bills. Plus, if you have a lot of power cuts in your area, then coolers are an ideal choice, because the small power consumption of these coolers will help to run it on a small off-grid solar or a regular inverter. So if you get power cuts, make sure to take a good look at efficient coolers. And yes, when we are talking about efficiency, recently I guess Symphony has launched brand new BLDC technology based coolers. Now what is this BLDC technology? Basically the motor inside this is based on brushless DC technology, and that allows you to use a large size desert cooler for as low as 130 watts of power consumption. But yes, the price is going to be a little bit premium. So if you are in a particular area where you get very heavy power cuts, and if you want to run that cooler overnight on your small battery backup system, then it will be worth to pay that 2 or 3,000 extra and go for that particular BLDC cooler. And yes, if you want to see the power consumption of various coolers practically using a meter, then make sure to check this particular video where I have tested a cooler for you guys. Meanwhile, let's go to the next point, that is, or I can say this is not a point, this is a kind of misconception. And these days I'm seeing that even a lot of brands have started advertising that coolers can be used indoors, or at least that is what their ads are suggesting. Often what you see is a nice little cooler, besides a TV unit or beside their study table, which is placed indoors without any window, and you see this nice little breeze coming out from it. Guys, let me tell you, cooler works on the principle of latent heat and evaporative cooling, and no kind of cooler in this world is going to work indoors without having good amount of cross ventilation or without good amount of windows near it. So guys, if you are planning to put your cooler somewhere in a corner, and if you expect it to work, my friend, it's not going to work. It's just going to make your room humid and you won't enjoy it. There's a second category of person who should avoid buying air coolers. That is the people who are living near sea, people living in coastal areas. So if you live somewhere like around 50 kilometers or closer to any sea or ocean or a large water body, then I guess you should avoid buying air coolers. Also, if your particular weather is usually very humid, then again cooler is not going to work very well. So if you are in any of these particular categories, then you guys should consider buying an air conditioner. And if you want to buy a good air conditioner for you, make sure to check out this particular guide that I have made in this particular fashion that will help you choose a very good air conditioner. Let's talk about the next point, that is features, and some of these features are my very favorite. The one thing that I like is autofill valve. Try imagining what is the most annoying thing about using a cooler. You are like having a good sleep and then suddenly you notice that, oh, the water has run out, and then you need to get up and fill water in your air cooler, and that disturbs your sleep. So autofill valve, what it does, it has a small float valve. You can connect your pipe to it, just keep the tap on and the cooler will automatically refill itself as when it is required. So this is the single most thing that has made using cooler so much fun. But yes, in this particular year when I was researching, I also noticed that a lot of coolers have started coming with fake fill valves. So what are these fake fill valves, guys? Actually, these particular coolers, they had attachment for screwing on the pipe, but there was no float valve. So what you have to do is you have to manually turn on the tap and you have to keep a tab on them, and then you have to turn off the tap when the cooler is full. So that I believe completely defeats the purpose of having any kind of fill valve. So make sure that any kind of cooler that you are buying, it needs to have this kind of float or auto cut valve. This is the picture, this is the thing that it looks like. This should be present in your cooler, otherwise it's not going to have an auto cut when the water is already full. Next, there are a few things which are nice to have. For example, mosquito nets. Some coolers have started coming with front shutters that you can completely close it and then it becomes opaque like that. So if you have pets, small kids, or generally if you have a lot of mosquitoes in your area, then you can consider these particular options. And yes, there is one more, my all-time favorite, that is having a remote. Yes, the remote is just like your AC remote, and from the comfort of your bed, from the comfort of your work table, you can just turn on that cooler like you turn on an AC and adjust the speed and swing and everything. So that is one thing that is really helpful. And if you want to buy these kind of feature rich coolers, then I'll try providing various affiliate buying links in the description or in the first comment. Make sure that if you want to support my channel, if you love this kind of content, please consider using those affiliate links, because your purchase price is anyways the same. And yes, among all these new fancy features, let's not forget about the classics. So what are the classic features that we need to check? That is swing. The cooler needs to have a motorized, or you can say an automatic swing. This could be a horizontal swing, it could be a vertical swing, that depends on the type of cooler, but make sure it has a good swing so that it can cover a wide area, your complete entire room, by using the swing feature. Next nice feature to have is known as dry run or pump protection. Again, so if the water runs out, at least your cooler should have a small alarm, or it should automatically shut off the pump to prevent that pump from burning up. Again, most of the coolers seem to have caster wheels, but it is just nice to check that the particular model that you are buying has one. Because what you can do during the daytime, you can have the same cooler in your hall, and in the bedtime you can bring it to your bedroom and turn it on over there. So having caster wheels makes all of this pretty much easy. And yes, if you are jumbled up in all of these various features and if you still cannot find a perfect cooler for your application, then you can comment below this video using hashtag AskZen. Post your requirement, something like this, and I'll 100% try providing a detailed answer for your query. Meanwhile, let's move to the next point, that is known as pads. Now generally there are 2-3 kinds of pads available, or you can say the cooling media that is available. The old school one is known as wood wool, generally known as grass or aspen wool. Then there used to be Khus. Now Khus is very exotic, it used to be very old school, and these days I'm not finding any coolers with Khus, so that is a bit out of question, sadly, because that option used to be very nice. I still remember the smell of that fresh Khus pads when you turn on that cooler, that breeze and that smell was very amazing. The next new kid on the block is known as honeycomb or cellulose pads. Now there is a lot of misconception online with respect to cooling. Now guys, the cooling between honeycomb pads and the regular wood wool pad is absolutely same. So having a honeycomb pad is not going to provide you better cooling in any ways. All right, so let's get that thing out of the way. So don't think that if you buy a cooler with honeycomb it should make your room chilled like Himalaya or something. It's not going to happen. It's going to have the regular cooling, but it does have a specific set of advantages over regular wood wool pads. That is, it does not get choked as easily due to dust. It does not have smelling problem. In the old school grass pads we had to replace it every year because the grass would like literally go bad. It would start to smell. There would be algae, fungus and bacteria in it. So that kind of thing used to have a very high maintenance. But honeycomb pads have a very good life of around 4 to 5 years, and overall it's going to be easy on your pocket. Plus you're not going to have the hassle of replacing those pads and all of that every year. So this particular 2024 and beyond, I'll generally recommend that you always buy a cooler with those honeycomb pads. There's one more bonus tip that I need to give, that is the pad thickness. Now earlier on, when this honeycomb pattern started appearing in the market, those pads were pretty thick. I remember they were like 2.5 or even 3-inch thick in some models. But today, due to cost cutting and all of this amazing competition that is happening, each and every brand wants to provide honeycomb pads on a low budget. And due to that, what many brands have done is started cutting on the thickness. So many coolers that I saw this year had the honeycomb pad which was just 1 or 1.5 inch thick, and that kind of thin pad is not going to give you any kind of good cooling. So make sure you check that. It needs to have nice thick honeycomb pads. And that brings us to the bonus part of this video. So let's discuss how to make the use of your cooler more effective and more pleasant. The first point you need to keep in mind is cross ventilation. Make sure to place the cooler which is near window. If possible, outside window is an excellent location. If there's a window opposite towards the cooler, like right in front of it, if the cooler is here, the window is over here. Again, if you have this kind of cross ventilation, you are going to have amazing results. If you don't have enough windows or ventilators in your room, then you can consider installing an exhaust fan. Alright, make sure wherever you are placing the cooler does not get any direct sunlight, especially if you are placing it outside the window. Try to shield it and keep it away from direct sunlight. Change the water in your cooler frequently. Yes, the number one reason of having all these mosquitoes and foul odors and all of these unpleasant things which are generally associated with coolers, that coolers have these problems, that is due to infrequent change of water. So make sure, depending on your use, depending on the dust levels, depending on the pollution in your area, make sure to change that water every week, every 15 days as when you deem fit. Also, there's this golden tip that I need to tell you, that always service your coolers at the end of season. Right. Generally what we do is when the summers are coming up and when the heat is making us sweat, we suddenly remember that, oh, I had a cooler, I need to get it out. And when we get that cooler out, it's in a sorry state. Now there's rust everywhere, the blades have jammed up, the pump is gone, all of that happens. Again, the grass needs to be changed. So what happens that rather than getting it serviced at the beginning of season, if you service it at the end of season, all of those ugly bacteria and those ugly rust particles won't have time to accumulate. So you can just service it nicely, make it clean, apply a coat of paint if you like, and then if you put it away for a rainy season or for winter season, it's going to be fresh next time you bring it on the duty. So that is one thing that I always follow myself, and whenever I get the cooler out, it is just ready to use like that. All right. So guys, if you made your mind to buy a nice little cooler this year, then there's this particular video over here which talks about some of the best coolers which are available in 2024. And again, if you are that kind of person who is confused, like, oh, okay, so the coolers have advantages, but I need to check out my air conditioner. So if you want to check out the air conditioners, the video is right here. You can directly click on these cards and go to those particular videos and learn something new today. So that's it for this particular video, guys. I hope you liked it. Take care and have a nice day.